They say that the youth are our future. The youth hold the key to progress, the key to a productive society. With the right tools, they can become the great inspiring leaders of tomorrow, the visionaries, or our athletic heroes. But what happens when we can't provide them with the tools they need to nurture their talents and their passions? Here's the truth. Life is an uneven playing field. Enveloped by the river valley, Edmonton is a little nook of paradise, rich in architectural beauty, historical gems, and a buzzing social scene. Edmonton is home to 1 million people, with one of the youngest and fastest growing populations in Canada.
The YEG Soccer Society started out of a desire to create an advocacy organization to advocate for the sport of soccer. We wanted to improve the sport of soccer in Edmonton, and ultimately what it came down to was foundationally advocating for facilities that are both accessible and affordable to families and kids within Edmonton.
As a child of an immigrant father, I used to think that I had a very good grasp on the challenges he and others faced. Growing up in the diverse neighborhood of Millwoods, most of my friends were children of immigrants or immigrants themselves. As I got older and I became more involved in my wider community, forming my own ideals and my own advocacies, I began to understand that it is much more complex. One of the few things that alleviates this challenge is the opportunity to connect with the community in a way that resonates. This is what soccer did for me, my friends, and my community. One thing that unifies close yet vastly different neighborhoods across Edmonton is soccer. Soccer is a universal language. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world. The first football association formed about 150 years ago. Soccer was first played in Edmonton during the late 1800s. The game grew and spread across the country. Bridging the gap between millions of people participating in the sport, soccer is a language that everyone can speak, whether you call it football or you call it soccer.
I am absolutely passionate about soccer. I grew up playing soccer, and I used to coach soccer when our daughter was young. And I was part of the Punjabi Cultural Association soccer camp, and so we would bring kids together during the summer. And I believe that soccer is such an affordable way to engage with the kids and give them that opportunity to stay healthy and grow into the game. We have so many success stories in the community, even within our own family. Soccer has a huge role in integrating newcomers into the community. Like I made friends playing soccer, and those friendships have last forever.
We're fortunate to have a friend in the mayor's office, but we also had an opportunity to sit down with one of our allies in the community.
There's a massive need for pitches and courts and rinks in the downtown. There's the equal need for the people who can run them in a welcoming and safe way. It's the densest neighborhood in the city, and there's probably a lot of people here who'll be willing to step up to make sure that the space is animated accordingly, if there is space.
Soccer is much more than just a game, and we wanted to learn about some of the impacts to our communities.
Having safe physical places to play, I think, is really important from like an equity, diversity, or EDI perspective, because you want to have these, areas and opportunities for, whether young people or, people of, various ages to feel confident and comfortable to just go out and be healthy.
So I think one of the biggest challenges for us as municipal governments to help address sort of the broader needs within the soccer community, there's a few. I mean, one, and we hate to always talk about it, but we do have to be real about funding, and there's a million asks for a million different things. The last, really, I would say almost 20 years, we focused on these large sort of mega rec centers, try to do everything into one big building. And I think we're trying to move away from that for a variety of reasons, because in certain cases, especially as you have maybe new Canadians coming into the city here, they might not own two vehicles. They might not have the same transportation ability to get to these mega rec centers, which really, if we're being honest, you're probably driving to. So do you have those opportunities available to you close by. And it's inconsistent across the city right now.
These mega rec centers do not have indoor soccer amenities, even in the most diverse of communities. Being the largest northernmost city in North America, our climate makes indoor facilities ever more important. The city owns indoor boarded rinks with concrete covered by thin green carpet. Between that and a short supply of indoor gyms, opportunities for Edmonton soccer youth become more out of grasp. It's the most affordable sport in the world, and yet there's still not enough funds to sustain it in our community in a meaningful way.
We have a huge challenge with finding space. The biggest challenge truly is the fact that there's a finite amount of space. And we have a policy here in Edmonton that's called grandfathering, where if you booked it 20 years ago, it's yours essentially for life until you give it up. So anyone who didn't have this finite amount of space 20, 30 years ago can't get in, which then just allows the organizations who started a long time ago to keep building and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and no one else can get in the door. And public space should be public. Right now, public space is used by private groups to make money, which is completely counter to what public space should be. Public space should be for everyone, not for private groups to make money off of public space. So it just comes back to that same principle that we talk about a lot, is what is the value of public space and who gets to use it and how facilities are built, how they're allocated.
We began to see a trend, not only political, but embedded in the culture in Edmonton.
When I first came to Edmonton, I didn't really know where to go when it comes to like soccer. So I literally just started my own thing based on the lack of participation I saw in my community. When it comes to like try to bring people together, working together, we don't have that, right? It's a lot of this is the way we've always done things, so we're gonna keep doing it because I don't know how to change or I don't want to change. Instead of saying, okay, let's all come together, right? Let's do what's best for the kids, right? We don't have that here. We don't have that in Edmonton. And I think we need to change that.
Problem with equity and access is that we're not considering the needs of everybody when it comes to the creation and usage of public space. Lack of understanding of the various needs of the society.
So our soccer program faces a number of challenges when it comes to accessible spaces by not having a proper home. We are in the middle of a downtown campus in a major center that we're surrounded by sky rises. We're big buildings, parking lots, different things like that. There's not a lot of green space and there's not a soccer stadium close by. So we rely on partnerships and relationships with the City of Edmonton, sometimes other municipalities that are part of the greater Edmonton area, and some of the private clubs that have facilities for us to rent, for us to make a home or temporary home for our soccer programs. But in essence, we end up playing in 3 or 4 different venues, playing and training in 3 or 4 different venues every year just to make it work. So it's not ideal.
The sport of soccer in Edmonton in its entirety deserves better than a future dependent on borrowed fields. Every child deserves to have access to facilities that will allow them to further hone their skills, spark their passion, and develop their confidence. Without access to proper training and recreational facilities, children are deprived the chance to explore their potential.
One of the biggest challenges is just the mentality of people when it comes to like being inclusive and the diversity in leadership positions. A lot of people talk about it, but you don't see it, right? You don't see it. For me, if you're gonna talk about diversity and inclusion, I have to see it, right? Because talk is cheap. When it comes to indoor facility, man, it's tough.
Indoor is a beast on its own, and it has real impacts in the community.
Like if you live in an area where you have to take public transit to go to the closest field to play a sport with your friends, that's not very accessible. So when you think about when you're not providing resources for, let's say, something like soccer or soccer fields or accessibility, we know, and data highlights to us, that a large amount of newcomer communities, especially racialized newcomer communities, soccer is a sport that they're most familiar with from their time back home. But when you're not able to invest in those types of facilities, whether intentionally or not, you are creating a barrier for certain demographics and certain communities to have access to those sports. So I think it builds those patterns around legacies of discrimination and bias. When you don't invest in certain neighborhoods, it's not just the geographical location that's impacted, it's the people. And oftentimes, because of socioeconomic considerations, there are certain higher demographics of racialized people in certain communities that don't have the same access to certain facilities like, a field, let's say. So accessibility is not just about, the impact on the individual, it's the impact on communities. And I think that's where you see that systemic pattern show up.
We have unfortunately trained ourselves in the art of rejection, and this remains to be a challenge for us, as it's a hurdle that has kept us from achieving our goals. Throughout this journey, we've been ignored, defeated, and dismissed over and over again by multiple levels of government. We may be nothing more than soccer fans and members of the community, but our voices and the voices of our children and their children matter too. Boarded indoor facilities with scruffy green carpet on concrete should not be the norm. These children deserve more.
I think there's a culture shift just because there's a lot of younger guys coming to the sports when it comes to coaching in a leadership position. Every time the sport is also changing. I think sometimes when things change, we all have to change with the time. We have to adjust. Whether that's rules in the boardroom, whether that's the way we coach, the way we teach the game, whether it's the way that we deal with the players, right?
And that's why representation matters. Change is coming.
What are those opportunities that exist in our local neighborhoods? So as a city, we're trying to redo our recreation plans to focus on small community-based needs, access to everything you need within a 15-minute walk, bus, or bike ride. And recreation is a core element of what you would need in a 15-minute community.
Soccer is not particularly prioritized in Edmonton. The voices of the children, the voices of their parents have to fight for that right.
The conversation is changing. Here in the city of Edmonton, they're starting to take a much more progressive look at space. The city of Edmonton has started to really listen to that advocacy and wanting to change the course of it. It still doesn't come close to meeting the needs and demand that we have, but it's a step. And it's a really good step, and it's a commitment that this council and this administration has taken to start looking at that allocation and recognizing that there's a lot of privilege-based barriers that are built into just how we allocate space.
Culture is a common theme in all of our conversations with the community.
I think that sports have helped shape some of the culture on campus with some of the recent success of our women's soccer team by winning national championships last year. From a culture perspective, you walk around campus now, you see the maroon colors, you see the McEwen Griffins. We want to be somewhere they want to spend time with us on the weekends, watching our games and cheering for the Griffins. So we're trying to transcend our own little silo here in athletics to be a bigger part of our campus community.
Like sometimes we need to put our egos aside and say, what's best for the kids? What's best for soccer? What's best for us to become a soccer nation? And we're not going to become a soccer nation with just one program or this program. We need to do it together, right? Because at the end of the day, we all have to help each other get better, right? We all have to challenge each other. That's how the kids are going to get better.
This project is about every child's access to activities that can further develop their roots in the community and build their skills for the future, especially those that come from immigrant backgrounds who are still finding their place in a new city, in a new country. This is about fostering the potential of youths from various backgrounds through sports like soccer. We used to get ignored by multiple levels of government, but things have changed. Attitudes have changed. Finally, we're getting somewhere. We're moving forward, and we've been able to sit down with members of parliament, members of the Legislative Assembly, and a new city council.
What I would tell Edmontonians is that the soccer is growing rapidly in our city, and we are building facilities and amenities to match that growth, and we're supporting a lot of activities in the community, such as the tournament here today in Castle Downs. Good example how community and city can work together to facilitate these kind of events. So, I'm very proud to see soccer taking off in our city. Very good example, world-renowned example is Alphonso Davies, right? He was embraced by the community here, coming from Ghana, growing up in very rough conditions, and struggling to make ends meet here with his family. But this community embraced him, and this community lifted him up, and now look where he is, right? I think that's a very good example what soccer can do. What I would say to people, not only within our city, but nationally and internationally, that if we are really interested in soccer, Edmonton is the place to look to.
This project is not about myself and my passion for soccer. This is about an entire community that deserves to experience positive social change through opportunities and development using sport. Increasing awareness for this project and what it means for the community has not been easy, but hope is a powerful thing. As the community saw our hope and passion, they begin to realize the amazing power that soccer has in bringing people together. Our team has met amazing, passionate soccer kids, parents, and fans from across the country because of this project. And that's why we're here. We need to be the voice for those that struggle to find theirs. As the great Nelson Mandela said, sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand.
Started when I was young, born and raised in East City, a product of where I'm from. It's a city of champions, the YEG, but you can't spell Edmonton without M-E. Watch as I take it all around the globe, yeah, and left the Coliseum and home to the ghetto. North, south, east, west, it's all my home. I ain't looking for no place I can call my own. I feel good where I'm at, I ain't never gonna leave. See me blazing at the ledge in the heavenly breeze, I feel good. So what you saying, East City?
Microphone check 1 2. What is this? Canadian rappers are taking over the business. Canada's a blessing that you're getting to witness. This athlete possessed with lyrical fitness. Son, let me coach you. Call me Popovich. Learn is more to rap than just talk. And I ain't rapping for a living. I'm just utilizing all the talents that I was given. So homie, if you see me at a concert, I'm probably in the back, dog. I ain't trying to be no opening act. Respect all the grinders, just trying to make moves. If you're starting from the ground up, you got nothing to lose. So that's why I do it. Cause I can. I'm working at a level some people don't understand. Was taught the games to be sold and not told. But half of you rappers are selling lies with your soul. And on your haters like a real. Only cause you people talking out your. Man, I'm just trying to.